All right, new and improved and complete. The entire year's worth of programs are there. Start scrolling down.
Wait, whoa, hold on.
So, 19.2 years.
The entire school year, every program. That's Yep. Now, we're not going to read every chapter in the book. You can if you want to, but I'm not going to hold you accountable. You can see when in the priority there, I'm going to expect the chapters to be completed. For instance, right down here, chapter 1, which is CH1, that's when I'm going to expect to see your notes on chapter 1. So we still have quite a while before.
Yeah, when is that actually?
I have not set a date on there, but as you can see for the stuff that is current, okay, I have set a date. For instance, last Friday, August 31st, was the deadline for this stuff, okay? Friday, September 7th, that's this Friday, I'm going to expect you to have 1.1 E, F, and G complete. Every year, I have some students that would like to just get stuff done in advance, get ahead, okay? And I wanted to provide you a way of reporting, hey, I finished this, please come check my work and stuff like that, okay? I really like the way things worked out last Friday where I pulled each one of you up and we kind of were able to look at your programs and move on. I want to spend at least 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes with each one of you, okay, looking over your programs. Even if all of you have of these finished, but I spend 5 to 10 minutes with each one of you talking about the first two, then I feel like it's progress. Then the next week, I'll try to carve out some time. Maybe I have one less lecture and I spend more time getting caught up on grading. But I want to spend at least one day where I'm scheduled to talk with y'all. Friday seems to work pretty good on that. That just makes the most sense to have the deadline finished by that day. Yes, sir.
Mr. Miller sent me to get you.
Sure. What can so I can
that's
do
how
for you?
students.
Okay. Write your name down.
Issues mostly. Third down.
Are you sure you're using the right one? Okay. I can't help you right now. Give him your name and everybody else's name, and have him email me the list.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right. So I've had some students finish all the programs in February, and then basically after that they work on the programming topic of their choice. In some cases, that's been another programming language. In some cases, that's been preparing for the UIL computer science competition. It just depends. So,
Could we start early on computer science?
When did Esteban finish all his?
I think he finished in February. He's one of the ones I was thinking of. So, I mean, everything is there in the folder that you really need. We're going to do examples, and I'm going to, like today, I'm going to talk about the program, the content for E, F, G, and hopefully H as well. Right? And I'm going to give you 2 full days to take care of that. But if you read ahead, if you look at the stuff, you want to take care of some of that stuff, I've got it here, and a little bit of bragging rights. Everybody can see what you've completed and stuff like that. I'm fine with that too. All right.
I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. It's a newer one this year. So, okay, let's go ahead and this is going to take me just 1 minute while I find.
You made all these files?
I've made a lot. I make more files than I should. Sometimes I just sit around and make files.
No, like you made all these files for
for the different, I mean.
like for the lab.
Yes and no. A fellow teacher of mine, he had a base system that worked for him. My very first time, I just redirected students to his site. But since then, I've grabbed it, modified it, changed it, and I talked to him about it. I got his permission. He's like, yeah, that's why I've got it out there. It's free for anybody. So occasionally you may see something that doesn't sound like me. That's probably, I haven't changed that. But I've gone through it all several times. All right. So far we've talked about variables, primitives, print lines. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. The operators, plus, plus, minus, minus, casting, the scanner class, removing, the flushing the buffer, so to speak. We talked about the math class and those methods. The string class, that's so awesome. We talked about compare to as a way of comparing strings. I don't believe we talked about escape sequences. Does that sound about right? I don't think we talked about that. Okay, so sometimes you'll want to put a double quote actually in a print line statement. Okay, the problem is if you put a double quote, then Java is going to think, oh, that double quote is ending the string. So the way you communicate to Java to actually literally print a double quote is you put a slash double quote.
Oh, we learned this at the very end of the year last year.
We
right?
did. I don't remember. Maybe it was the very end. It was the very middle.
Or, some before like one big break. I remember we learned this.
Yeah. Let's see. This is 6th period. I'm just going to go pick one of those and pretty much delete all that other stuff. I just got my hello world, and then if I want, see, here's the thing. If I want, maybe I want double quotes around the W. I don't know why. Java's not going to know how to deal with that because it's thinking that when that first double quote ends the hello and this double quote begins another one, and I'm like, I don't want any of that. I literally want the double quote to show up. So you put a slash in front of it. Looks a little weird. Hello slash double quote W slash double quote. But that's how you get W world. Hello W world. And that backslash is called an escape character. Or I guess technically the whole thing, the backslash and double quote. Similarly, you might say, well, what if I want a backslash to appear? Well, then Java's like, well, if you look at the backslash, then it's going to think the next thing is a special code. So the way you double backslash.
What if you want two backslashes?
Then you put in 3.
Okay.
Well, maybe
No, yeah, wouldn't you 4?
4. Yeah, 4 for 2. HE double backslash LLO.
Or you could delete the L, the 2 L's.
Oh,
Have them like.
HE quadruple backslash.
Well, if you look at it, it'll look like italics or something.
Hello world. Right, a little. Okay, what about single quote? I think we can. I think the single quote works in Eclipse. I'm not sure why that's the case. If I put the backslash single quote, it does the same thing. That might be a
Maybe
newer version
like
of Java.
literally by itself.
I don't know. I saw that the other day. I'm not sure why the single quote works, but there you go. Also, just 2 other ones you need to know about. There's other ones here, and some of them work with Java, some of them not. Anyway, the /n is a new line. I'm pretty sure we saw that one before. So, for instance, if I want hello and world to be on different lines, but they're also inside one print line, I can put a /n right there. Put a space in front. So /n. What that's going to do is going to kick it down to the next line. So it's hello, and then /n. I'll get rid of this other nonsense here. World.
You think the future programming should be taught in elementary?
Some parts of it, yes, absolutely. Escape sequences, not so much.
Oh, no, I'm just
But
saying.
Ifs, yeah, I mean, my son did it in 1st grade last year. He'll do it again this year.
They offer it?
They use code.org, and they do little programming, if, then, stuff like that.
I
You
heard in
teach
the
it?
UK, computer science and programming is like a mandatory class K through 12.
Yeah.
It really helps with your logic. It really helps with your problem solving.
Yeah.
And there's so many different toy fun ways of game type ways of learning it now. I mean, I'm okay with K through 8, just doing that fun stuff and solving problems, because at some point then they're gonna get a little bit of exposure to variables. They're gonna get loops. They're gonna get while and until loops and for loops. They're gonna be those constructs, I guess you could say, those are gonna be in their mind.
Yeah.
And so then when you start saying, well, this is how we write it in code, which with an if, they're like, okay, yeah, I've done that a million times, and they're already used to thinking like that. So, anyway, the /n is the new line, and then the /t is for a tab. So put a /T, you'll notice that will kick over the hello. Come on in, see what he needs. What can I do for you?
We're having technical difficulty going into Connected, and
But you did not this morning, correct?
yes,
No.
it happened during lunch.
Yeah, a lot of people during lunch couldn't get on.
I would,
This website popped up, and I don't know if you could,
okay.
if you had a class code. or
I don't.
something.
If there's class code, there's probably a problem with their end, and they've also been trying to deal with some stuff behind the scenes. So send me an email
Okay.
to remind me. I'll look into it after school.
Okay, and if it doesn't come back, like today,
I can offer an extension if needed.
You mean they're doing behind the scenes?
It's possible that they're doing some server maintenance. It's also possible because it's the first day of school for a lot of places that they're getting overrun.
Did it? Oh yeah, a lot of people like in Minnesota. I know that they started.
Yeah, a lot of people are starting school today. Also, so
Server maintenance, like, what do you exactly do for
If you
maintenance
need-
on a server?
they might need to transition from smaller servers to larger servers instead of transferring the database.
Because I know video games online specifically get a ton of server maintenance, and I've always wondered what do they do.
That's a great question. At some point, maybe if you want to look that up and let us know. My guess is they might be transferring files. They might be updating their systems. All kinds of different things. Normally they do it over the weekend. It's unlikely that they do it in the middle of the day. Most likely the thing is one of two things. One is they're getting overrun with so many requests. Number two, we actually are getting some more subscriptions and they're messing up our inventory in the process of doing that. Hopefully that's not the case. All right.
Because then we have to restart everything.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So let us also just very briefly look at this so that you guys can know what it's all about. If else, and an if else ladder. So just remember, this is how an if statement looks like in Java. If, they've got the parentheses, and then technically Java is looking at just the next line. That's the next item that comes in there. Okay. If you want to, you could put curly braces around it, but you don't have to. If you have more than one line that you want inside that if statement, they have to be in the braces. Okay? Java is only going to look at the next line. If you want multi-line, you've got to put those braces. And you can see here, I put it up here because this is the way that Eclipse is going to like to put those open brackets.
I hate that. I press enter.
Yeah.
It irritates me.
So we could say if 5 is less than 10, enter open bracket. Now this is kind of cool. As soon as you hit enter, it creates the curly bracket. System.out.println. Yes, it is. Anyway, that works. You can also say if 5 is less than 7. Oh, hold on. Open bracket, system.out.println. Yep.
What's your favorite thing to code?
I'm really into data structures right now because that's one thing that they didn't teach very well, and so I like doing data structure stuff.
Data structures and like.
Data structures are lists, maps, trees, ways of getting objects and that are linking to other objects. How does that make sense? So I've got an object here that's pointing, that part of the properties of that object is actually a reference to another object in a list, which is then a reference to another object in a list.
Okay.
And so you can do some neat stuff with that. You can have them all listed out like flat and like a list, or you can have them vertical, and then you can have somewhere you can put one on the top and take it off, push it on the top, and then pop it off. It's called a stack. You can get a queue where they're all like
How do you
lined up.
code that?
Just one of the instance variables is a reference to another one of its own type.
What? Okay.
It's like part of the properties that it has. It may have an int and it may have a string. And let's say it's called, this is an item. The item class has an int type variable, a string variable, and an item variable. And that item points to another one of itself. And this one has a number and a name and a little arrow, so to speak, which points to another one of itself. And so you can have them all lined up like a chain, and you can put them on here at the front, or take them off on the end, put them on a sack, put them on here, and pull them out. You can have them pointing, these guys pointing down and one pointing out. You can do all kinds of really neat stuff with that. You can make a graph, like you make like a huge like tree, where this one is pointing to 2, and then this one's pointing to 2, and this one's pointing to 2.
This is like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, and then that also you can use that. That's the type of stuff that they use to find. I'm at this intersection, and I want to go to this intersection or this address. What's the fastest way? Well, if you think of every intersection pointing to other different roads and things like that, then you can travel that really quickly with code and say, there's this way, and there's this way, and there's this way, and there's this way, and there's this way. And there's not an infinite number of ways you can go from here to downtown Fort Worth. It's a very finite number of ways you can go. And if you say, I have to go north very quickly to be the fastest, then that cuts out all of the south ways. You know what I mean? Arguably, you could go from here to downtown Fort Worth by means of New York City, but that's just ridiculous. So anyway, you can do some really neat stuff with that.
That'd be a long trip.
Yeah.
It says there's either 3 different options on what goes on. It's software upgrades, hardware upgrades, or if they're having mechanical failure.
They're just system maintenance is sort of like they're under construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't let me log in either.
Okay. It's a system-wide thing then. All right. So there you go. There's your if statement. There is your if and your if else. Okay. Remember, you can have the else right there. There's also this thing which we kind of called an if else ladder, which here you can see an example of.
Oh yikes! I remember. Do we have to do like a long program like this last year?
You're gonna have to do something a little bit shorter, but demonstrate that you know. Like for instance, if the temperature outside is whatever, well, how would you say? What would you say that it's like? Well, if the temperature is over 100, then I would say it's very hot. If it's over 90, then I think you could accurately say it's hot. But notice, I have an else there, so we're going down one of these 2 options. We're either going to go down that first one, or we're going to go down the 90. Or if we've said no on both of those, if it's greater than 80, then we'll say it's very warm. When it's like 82 or 83, and people are saying it's hot out there, okay, maybe if it's humid, that's really pushing the
They
index up
aren't
a lot.
Southerners if they're saying 82 is hot.
It's hot out. It's 82. No, it's not hot out. That's 7 o'clock in the morning. In
Let's go out and
August.
do mowed lawn.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Now, if it's in the 70s, then you'd say it's warm, upper 70s, and it's arguably one of the
It's really cool.
the
That's
nice-
cool for here.
yeah the nice. But supposedly, Southern California, they say it's sunny and 78, 360 days a year, something like that. Like that's the forecast. That's why so many people live in LA. Because it's like really nice weather all the time. I don't know if it's really
California. No, there's
Southern California, not northern.
I'll say because there's just
Sunny and 78?
Sunny and 78 or something like that.
Because I watch a YouTuber and he lives in California. It's always like
I
hotter
enjoy
than it is
the
here.
rain though.
There, but our hot feels hotter because of the humidity.
But we actually don't have a lot of humidity. When we do have humidity, yes. But you go to some places like Florida, Louisiana,
Oh no.
South Texas with the humidity, that's a different story than the humidity we have here. We do have humidity like yesterday after it rained.
It's supposed to rain like for 2 weeks.
We'll see.
It
Sometimes
was supposed to rain from 1 to 7.
Sometimes I feel like Texas weather, it's really hot and it rains just enough to make it humid. Then when the humidity goes away, it rains just enough again.
Anyway, I don't feel like I really need to go down through all this stuff. A good practice, if you want to make sure that you cover every situation, is to always have an else. Guys, you with us? Is to have an else here at the very end. That's going to catch any situations that you didn't catch up here, okay? And it can be, good. Like, for instance, if you had messed this up somewhere and you'd forgotten about the 50 range, and it wasn't above 60 and it wasn't above 40, or you'd forgotten some item here and then it was, you typed in 75 or 52 or whatever, and then it says it's freezing, then that could give you an indication. So best practice is to always have a naked else here at the very bottom of your if-else ladder.
That's one way to put it.
Any questions? Other things to remember with your if-else, it is possible to have if and then a parentheses, okay? And then, this is really not working out really well. If x is less than y, you don't need to type this up, I just want to show you. Then have your code, else if z is greater than x, and then multiple lines here. Else, open bracket, multiple lines here. You know what I'm saying? So on this particular if-else ladder, I only have one line after each if, but it is very possible for, if you have an if-else ladder, to have brackets, multiple lines, brackets, multiple lines. Pretty much any time that you have an if that looks like this with one line, you could replace it with an if and then a block of code that has multiple lines. Any questions on that? You know what I think would be helpful for us to do? Let's go ahead and look at what some of the programs are that you're going to have to be writing this
I
week.
agree. Maybe we can do so.
Well, I want to cover loops very quickly, but I want to make sure that I'm not going to get too far ahead of ourselves here.
Dude, you really, like, if the internet went down, our world would be lost. Like, we wouldn't have running water, we wouldn't have electricity, we wouldn't have anything.
I think water would still work. The internet. Oh, you mean like if the whole internet shut
Yeah,
down?
shut down, like nothing worked.
I don't know how much the pumps are still going to work, but yeah. Okay, so let's see.
There'd be no way, like, see who's using what, unless they're still using like the old school meters.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why, military-wise, I mean,
They don't use it.
attacking, the utilities, attacking the electricity and power communications, I mean, that's the first thing you hit. Knock out the communications so they can't do anything, they can't talk to each other. Anyway, those that are assigned this week, I believe, are E, F, and G. So E, demonstrate how to use the 5 string methods from the AP Quick Reference Chart. Which ones are those? That's these guys right up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lane.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So, item E or program E 1.1e. Demonstrate how to use those. Check. 1.1f, escape sequences. Demonstrate how to use escape sequences to print a new line, print a double quote, print a single quote, print a backslash, print a tab. Okay, pretty sure we can do that even after today's demonstration. All right, let's look at G, 1.1g, if else. Demonstrate an if block that compares integers, one that compares doubles. Use an if else ladder that compares an int to a range of numbers. What might be a situation where you would need to compare an int to a range of different numbers?
Where's this file located?
This is the 1.1 warm-up.
Not
It's under warm-up. Under file, okay, here's your course, Java Fundamentals, Syntax Review, Lab 1.1.
Oh.
Alright?
Lab 1.1.
Well, I gave you one example. I give you the temperature, and you try to find out, okay, and you give me a sentence telling me how it feels outside. That's a situation where you want to place one, you've got an if-else ladder. What might be another situation where you have some number and you have a series of range values that's going to give you a different sentence or sentences.
Gas tank.
Okay.
You put in like a fraction 3/4, you got so much gas left or something.
Okay, you can't type in a fraction, except that normally you're not going to be able to type in fractions because that's a mixture of symbols and numbers. Yes.
Oh.
All right, now, next question.
Grades.
What's that?
Grades.
Grades. Give me, okay, that's a perfect example, such as, I give you a number like 98, and you spit out, I give you a number like 58, you spit out F. Great. That would be a great example of having an if-else ladder that compares it into a range of numbers. What about this? An if-else block that compares a Boolean. A true or false value. Well, what I might need to do first is to create a Boolean variable. Boolean has ammo equals false. And I could say if has ammo equals true, system.out.println fire.
This reminds me of when we created like all those monsters and crap.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that. I mean, it was fun, but it took a long time.
All right. So that is an example of using an if statement with a Boolean. But since this is AP, I want to knock it up a notch here. Bam.
Listen, I'm not even caught up yet.
There's a faster way, a more clear way of using a Boolean in an if statement. Alright, so because has ammo is a Boolean, it can have one of two results. What are those two options?
True or false?
Okay, it could be true or it could be false. If it's true, what does this equation look like? What is has ammo equals true?
Said fire, so.
Hold on. Has ammo equals true. In the situation where has ammo is true, what will this expression evaluate to? True or false?
True.
It'll evaluate to true because is true equal to true? Yes. If has ammo happens to be false, what will this expression evaluate to? False equals true.
False.
That is a false statement. Let me say that again. Since has ammo contains false, this whole expression will evaluate to false. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what I want you to see here is that this expression right here is exactly the same, true false, as that expression. When has ammo is true, then has ammo equals true is true. When has ammo is false, then has ammo equals true is also false. Okay? So I can actually make my code even more readable by actually deleting some code. Watch this.
We already have little to no code.
I can actually write this. Instead of saying has ammo equals true, if has ammo.
Ooh.
And then I can say else what would an appropriate or reload.
He said retreat.
Hey, that would be good, but we are on attack mode here.
Ready to quit.
What do you think is going to happen when I print it, when I run this?
Because you said it's false, so it would be false. If it was true.
Reload. Yeah, because we said it's false. If I said it equal to true, fire.
Why is it my oh, it's the first one.
All right. Where am I going with all this? All right. That's how to compare a Boolean. Now let's go over here, an if-else block that compares strings. This is super important. I don't know if I mentioned it here. Ah, I did. It's kind of hidden right here. Comparing strings with the equals method.
Don't use equal.
Do not use equals to compare strings. Instead, use the dot equals. Have we talked about this year? I don't think we maybe have. I'm not sure.
I have no clue.
All right. So observe right here. This says string color equals red. If color dot equals red, then print it out. Okay. I'm just gonna show you that code because there's no reason for me to type all this stuff up. Okay. As I already typed it up here. If you want to compare one string to another string, you have to use the dot equals. Now, Robbie, you're the skeptic. Go ahead and ask.
But
That's not the word I was looking for. Let me just say this again, since you seem to be questioning authority all the time, which I like. Whenever you have strings, you have to use the dot equals. You cannot use equals equals.
What happens if you use equals?
There, okay, yeah, okay, what happened, why? That's kind of what I was getting at, yeah. All right, let me show you.
I tried to be him, it didn't work.
All right, the reason is based on what the behind the scenes way that equals equals works. Okay? The behind the scenes ways that equals equals works is that is meant to compare primitives and addresses, memory addresses. That's what equals equals is actually programmed to compare. Okay? So, and when I say primitives, ints, doubles, booleans, characters, stuff like that. But a string is not a primitive, okay? So let's say we have string 1, str1, okay? That is pointing to the word in memory, hello. And then over here we have,
if it's not a primitive or
it's an object,
okay.
okay? A primitive is geared to be super fast and very lightweight. And in memory, if you think of memory as like a list of information, it's literally just right there in memory. An object has a little bit of lead space where it says, hey, I'm about to have an object, and then has all the different fields, or has all the different instance variables, and it has a little bit of stuff there at the end, and it takes up a whole lot more space, and it's not just the number right there, okay? So this would be like HELLO. Okay, so it's a lot more complex, the way that it's stored in memory, okay? So speaking of which, if you have str1, which is listed as hello, and str2, which is listed as hello, what in memory, in your RAM, make sure I'm in the frame here, Preston. The way that it looks like on the video, str1 is pointing, is this guy here, it's kind of looking like this. HELLO, and then a little bit of space there at the end. And then str2 is pointing to this space, which is the beginning, then HELLO, and a little bit of space on the end. Okay? And so, when you say, is str, if you were to say str1 equals str2, it's going to look and say, is this address that it's pointing to the same as this address? And the answer is no. Those are two different starting locations. Okay? And as a result, even though the stuff that's inside the objects is the same, Java's going to say they're not the same, because equals equals is designed to compare primitives and the address. Okay? If you actually want to look inside, you have to use dot equals. Because the dot equals method will actually literally go inside and look around the house and say, hey, is anybody in here? What's in here? HELLO. Okay, got it. What's over here? HELLO. All caps here. Capital H. Yeah. Oh, it's a complete match. Yes, we're good. Okay? And that's actually taken care of in the equals method. All right?
So will it print out like a true or false thing, or what will it print out?
Yeah, let me show you. You guys don't need to type all this stuff up, okay? We record it, but for speed, just watch me here. String str1 equals hello. String str2 equals hello. If str1 equals str2 system.out.println, they are the same. I hope this works properly.
You don't have an R on the SDR thing.
I knew there was a problem right there because they weren't lined up.
When y'all coded at your other school, what did you code? In what language?
Python.
Alright. Okay, if everything Mr. Goddard said is correct, what will get printed out?
True or false? Wait, no, they're the same or not the same, sorry.
Should be
Yeah,
not-
which one?
Not the same.
If what I said is correct, it should say not the same.
They are the same.
Hold on. Wait a second. Why is that working?
We're actually questioning why it's working.
Why isn't it breaking?
Alright, hold on.
They do look the same though.
That's what I'm saying. I don't
Yeah, okay,
understand why.
that's it's dude, just hold on. Alright. Alright, let's try that. HELO. Enter. HELO. Enter.
Well, why aren't they the same?
Why are they not the same?
Yeah.
Because equals compares the address,
Oh.
not what's inside.
Okay.
Okay? The reason why it didn't, why everything was messed up and real wonky a minute ago is because I had it hard coded in. And when you have it hard coded in, then
It does-
Java
it
does
does
some
the
stuff.
server, yeah.
It actually looks at them when it's in the pre-compile stage, and it says, hey, this is exactly the same as this. Let's save the user some memory and collapse them all into one. Okay? So, but when I have it where it's waiting for the user to type it in, it doesn't know what I'm going to type in. And so it separates them, which is the proper way how to do it. So that was a bad initial example. This is what I'm trying to get at. Equals does not work for strings. At least it
Does dot equals work for everything?
it works for strings. It will work for other objects if you write the code to make it work.
Oh.
Okay? And that's actually something that we're going to be working on probably not for another month or two when we start overriding methods. Okay? And so here we go. So just to be clear, I'm going to make it real nice and easy here. I'm going to type in A, enter, A, enter. Not the same.
You should have not the same address.
Yeah, not the same address. Oh, there you go. Now, if I do str1 dot equals open parentheses and then str2 inside that parentheses, then Java's going to go inside the house, so to speak. It's going to go in. I say that because it's like an address.
It'll be the same.
It'll go in and look item by item.
That's kind of interesting though, because like.
HELO, HELO. They are the same.
Now do one where they're not.
Oh, okay, that's for thoroughness. Hello, goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah, we needed that because you would be like, hey, wait a second. It's just working every time because it's a little be good magician validator. Be like, wait a second. Skeptic there. Okay, yeah, we still have a couple minutes.
Yeah, I don't know why I put my microphone. It's just so much harder for it. It just all kind of happened.
So for the labs, I want you to demonstrate an if-else block that compares strings. Make a note to yourself. That's the one thing I'm going to check, probably more than all that other stuff. You need to use dot equals for that, okay? So don't use this equals nonsense. Okay, I think that takes care of E, F, and G. I would like to also take care of the loops, but I feel like we're a little out of time here. So, y'all talk to me. What are some stuff that we discussed in this class today? Someone's been quite fidel. Okay, what did you learn about ifs and if else's and if else ladders? Okay, that you can learn how you compare booleans. Alan, something that you learned.
Escape sequence.
What is specifically escape sequence?
Like how to use them.
And how do you use them?
You put them inside of two parentheses. And use slash n or slash whatever you can use.
Okay, good. I'm just keep pushing it until I get something. Preston.
We learned addresses and primitives.
Okay.
And we figured out that if you had it like hardwired or something like that, you said that they would go in different areas, and if they weren't, then they would all be mushed together, sort of thing, and
If
that
you-
they would be equal, something like that.
If
I don't
they, yeah,
know.
if you hard coded it, I did. Yeah, that's kind of the weird scenario is when I actually wrote str1 equals double quote and I put it in hard code. This is not hard coded because I'm waiting for the user to type it in. Yes, Luis.
That equals don't work on strings.
Great, Robbie. It's like,
Same as one.
okay, Rigel, something that you learned today.
I just how we can use the slash and like it's just all reminders. Pretty good to know.
Okay. Lane, you got bias with the pass. Somebody stop recording that, please. Let's go.